Hi everyone, I am Dr. Seema Bhatodekar, hemato-oncologist from Vadodara. And today I am going to talk on management of acute pain in sickle cell disease. As all of you are aware that pain crisis or VOCs are clinical hallmarks of the SCD, and it leads to major cause of hospitalization for these patients. And if you go through the pathophysiology of the SCD and VOC, it is hypoxia, ischemia, tissue damage, which is perceived by patient as a pain. This pain is often rapid in onset and very severe, results into pain into the joints, extremities, and sometimes it is generalized too. Each these pain episodes results into inflammation and lot of inflammatory reactions. And these recurrent inflammatory reactions worsens the further episodes also. And ultimately, these recurrent worsening episodes lead to end organ damage. So if you see this schematic diagram, it shows that there are multiple molecular cellular processes which are happening at the same time when VOC is occurring, like multicellular adhesion of the cells on the endothelium leading to nitric oxide depletion, RBC hemolysis, chronic inflammation, lot of release of the oxidative stresses, which results into the ischemia and reperfusion injury to the endothelium. And these recurrent injuries to the endothelium leads to tissue damage. So VOCs can have a devastating short as well as long-term impacts. As we all know, what are the short-term impacts? It results into hospitalization of this patient, and hospitalization means absence from the work or school activity. And definitely they get psychological trauma also because they stay away from family and friends. And is it only pain for which we are worried? No. Apart from their pain, there are short-term, long-term impacts also. Like if this episode occurs again and again, they result into severe acute and chronic complications, especially life-threatening complications like acute chest syndrome, acute kidney injury, stroke, splenic sequestration, and hepatic sequestration. Many times, patient survive after a long admission in hospital with this complication, but these are the life-threatening complication, and sometimes they succumb to these also. So this is the survey which shows that approximately half of the VOC patients with VOC, they are managed at home or locally, and hardly 50% will reach to hospital or clinic to take a proper treatment. And this survey also shows why people prefer home management is because their previous exposure to hospital or ER was not good. And they are, most of the time, it is because of unawareness on the patient part or the medical fraternity, which are not very used to treat the SCD VOCs. Apart from that, even though they reach to the hospital, many times hospitals are too expensive. These patients are from the tribal area, interior, so they don't have money to spend to get the proper treatment. And many times they don't have a even vehicle to get to reach to the hospital. And pain is so much so that they cannot come walking. So as far as VOC management is concerned, what I feel is it requires a lot of team management, and in that team, the most important pillar is a patient. You need a lot of information from patient to apply all this supportive care, hydration, and analgesia. So before planning for treatment, you need to listen to patient and get proper information to make a proper plan for treatment. So before going ahead with the management of the VOCs, let us see what are the stages of VOCs, and then it will be easier for us to make a plan for VOC treatment. So there are 4 distinct phases of the VOC, which last for on an average 9 to 11 days. There is a prodromal phase where the pain, it actually does not cause pain, but there is an aura. These patients have an aura that I'm going to have pain. And many times it happens that patient comes to my OPD and says they're having chest pain. And on examination, nothing is there. Then also I don't send them back. I always prefer to wait to make sure that there is nothing wrong in chest pain, get the x-ray done, and you may sometimes get a surprise that there is a patch or something like that. So many times these patients have a habit of getting intuition or aura followed by acute pain in initial phase, and then at the peak the pain remains there in the established phase followed by the resolving phase. And this is the period, initial phase and established phase, where the most commonly complication occurs, like acute chest syndrome, multi-organ failure, death. Everything happens in this period, and this period has to be tackled properly with a aggressive treatment. If you see graphs on the right, bottom graph shows there is a chronic pain between 2 episodes of pain. That means there is a lot of inflammation occurring, even though pain episode has gone and has passed the resolving phase. There is a persistent inflammation which results into chronic agonic pain for this patient. But some patients are fortunate to have a intermediate period where there is no pain because their inflammation completely subsides and gives pain-free intervals. So this graph is showing that I just wanted to emphasize that this is a golden period, prodromal phase, when there's an aura and you get the just one symptom, or you feel that yes, this patient is going to go into a actual VOC, you start treatment, bombarding with the treatment at this point. And then if you pick up this point, you can avoid complications and worsening of acute pain happening in the established phase actually. So how can you pick up this point, and how can you implement the treatment earliest? The most important thing which I mentioned earlier is the listen to patient. So history taking and quick examination is the crucial part. So when you do that, during that process, you come to know whether patient, what kind of history patient has, and whether there is a history of fever or infection is there or not, and whether how patient has responded to treatment in previous episode of VOC. All these informations are very crucial for implementation and planning of the treatment. Like if you find that there is any source of infection, it needs also attention, because without you treat the trigger, it is not going to help to prevent the further complications of the VOCs. So first you get the overall idea of the patient, take past history also into consideration, then immediately act in the ER department and try to give analgesia within 30 minutes of period. So this is a management strategy which I follow in my patient, because being in the proximity to the Panchmal district, which is very near to Vadodara, we get a lot of patients of sickle cell disease, and they usually come for routine OPD. But in spite of regular treatment of hydroxyurea and supportive care, they get intermittent pain, and for that they require a proper strategy to prevent the further complication. So these are the management strategies which are also have been approved in the 2020 ASH guidelines for the management of the VOCs in sickle cell disease. So these involves the adjunctive therapy, hydration, oxygen supplementation, analgesia, and PCV transfusion in selective patients. So we'll go one by one. So non-pharmacological adjunctive treatment means you try to do some measures to prevent the pain perception. So for that, it does not happen immediately overnight. Like if patient has come to ER and you want to give VR, AV, suddenly patient is not going to get relief from that. For that, you require all these things, priming of all these things in the OPD. In sickle cell OPD, when the patients are not having any pain and they are ready to listen to you and understand the importance of all these methods, they understand and they follow, their pain and capacity to cope up with the pain increases. So these are the virtual reality, guided audiovisual relaxation, yoga, meditation, and massage. All these are the methods by which you can decrease the pain episodes in sickle cell disease. Apart from that, transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation is also one of the method which is a non-pharmacological to give the pain relief in these patients. Then second is hydration. So hydration is an important part, but I would like to emphasize on the part that never overhydrate patient, because overhydration leads to further deterioration in the condition of the patient. So first try to assess the patient clinically. If patient is obviously looking dehydrated, definitely there is a role of IV fluid. But if patient is adequately hydrated, then just emphasize that patient has to take oral fluid at least 60 ml per kg per day to maintain the good hydration. Then third thing is oxygenation. So as we all know that deoxygenated erythrocyte actually facilitate the polymerization of the hemoglobin S, and that leads to further occlusion of the vessels. So to prevent the further occlusion of the vessels, you need to give oxygenation and prevent the further complication related to VOC. So the baseline oxygenation which has to be maintained is at least 95% of the SpO2. If patient is not maintaining SpO2 95% at room air, give nasal prong. If it is not maintaining with nasal prong, then NRBM. Not with NRBM, then BiPAP. Not with BiPAP, then give ventilator. So whatever way, at least use everything to give at least oxygenation more than, to maintain the oxygenation more than 95%. So that will help in preventing further complication in the VOCs. Then come to analgesia. Now there are various types of analgesias available. Like for mild to moderate pain, you can use NSAIDs and acetaminophen, but there are patients who do not respond to this and do not wait and add opioids in that. And there are certain patients who need a higher doses of the opioids. So basically in children with mild to moderate pain and fever or viral syndrome, the NSAIDs and acetaminophen works very well. But in elderly patients who have a hepatic impairment or coagulopathy or renal failure, it is contraindicated. So before giving NSAID, always make sure that liver function test and creatinine is normal in that patient. So there are other methods of analgesia like ketamine, which is usually used as an anesthetic agent, but in sub-anesthetic dose, it can be used as an analgesic. Recommended dose as an analgesia is 0.1 to 0.3 milligram per kg per hour with the maximum of 1 milligram per kg per hour. We can give regional anesthesia also in form of epidural or peripheral nerve catheter delivered analgesia for local pain in abdomen, hip or leg pain. The only drawback is it requires expertise or resource. It cannot be given in the remote places. But if it is available, nothing like that, because it reduces the hospitalization days as well as opioid use. Some patients will require definitely opioid, and it can be given as a basal continuous IV opioid infusion or on-demand dosing or as a scheduled intermittent dosing. The opioids are available as a short-acting and long-acting and transdermal as a transdermal patch also. But with opioids, what I have seen that it is a very good analgesic agent and it gives a very good analgesic effect within no time. But it comes with its own baggages like tolerance, physical dependence, and addiction. And apart from that, there are certain hospitals where they don't allow opioid as a narcotic agent. They don't allow injection of opioids in the on the floor, and these patients then require uh, ICU admission for opioid IV administration. So patients are hesitant to go to hospital. One of the reason is they don't want to go into ICU just to take a painkiller. Then last is PCV transfusion. Not all patients will require transfusion. In fact, PCV transfusion is contraindicated to treat pain. So if hemoglobin of patient is baseline is as baseline hemoglobin is 7 to 8, and at the time of VSE is also 7 to 8, no need to give PCV transfusion for that patient. But if patient has a fall in hemoglobin from baseline, or there is a fall in obvious fall in hemoglobin, and you feel that patient is anemic, you can give PCV transfusion to improve the pain. But most of the time, simple transfusion to increase hemoglobin to 10 to 12 will not work. On the contrary, it will worsen the pain. Exchange transfusion has its own place in the treatment of pain management. If none of the measures which I have mentioned in previous slide work in this patient, this exchange transfusion I have seen works in most of the patient. What I have seen that if patient does not respond within 48 hours by previously mentioned methods, then you can take this patient for exchange transfusion. Exchange transfusion actually take out the sickle cells from the patient and transfuse the normal RBCs into the patient's circulation, which helps into bringing down hemoglobin S to less than 30%. And this bringing down S to less than 30% helps in preventing VOC by two ways. One, it decreases the viscosity, and second, it breaks that vicious cycle of occlusion, ischemia, further occlusion. That there is a break in that cycle, and it helps in preventing further complication. So what we have seen is acute vaso-occlusive crisis is not only pain, but it results into ultimately into tissue damage. And it is very important to counsel patient that it is not only pain which you need to get relieved, but you need to prevent the further tissue damage. And that can be done by preventing further VOC episodes. And how you can prevent the further VOC episodes? By many ways, like tell patient or counsel patient for regular OPD treatment, regular visits to OPD with the baseline lab reports, and continue with the hydroxyurea, vitamin D3, B12, folic acid, vaccine, and as and when there is an infection, have control on that infection very aggressively. Apart from that, psychosocial supports plays important role in relieving pain or increasing the pain coping capacity of the patient, like mind-body relaxation techniques and distractions such as listening to music, training for coping skills and abilities to cope with pain, and enhancing the social support network and education, which will help patient to get the pain relieving treatment urgently whenever it is required. So my take home message is preemptive prompt treatment for sickle cell disease is doable, it is cost effective, and in fact it prevents the organ damage and modify natural history of disease. How can we have this, or how can we implement this? By giving emergency cards to sickle cell disease patients in our OPD with the mention like this, something like this, attention, and mentioning the name of the patient, emergency contact of the hospital number, and STD physician name, so that whenever patient is in trouble, having pain and away from hospital, at least they can get some information or help to get the relief from the VOC as early as possible. So remember, VOC, in VOC, your aim of treatment is not just to treat the pain and get relief of the pain, but it is to prevent the further organ damage of the patient. Thank you.